I just had Reed visit us at an offsite. He's an amazing person. But one of the things he talked about was this idea that sometimes the team just needs someone to make a decision, and being explicit about this idea that you are going to make the decision because you're the CEO or because you're the head of product or whatever role you have as an entrepreneur, can sometimes just settle the debate, because you're not actually saying, I know for certain that what I think is right. We just have to make a decision, and it's formalizing the caprice, because the uncertainty that I lived in, especially in the early days where we were trying so many different things, was really unsettling. And the idea that I had to elaborately rationalize why we were going to do black instead of white, pink instead of blue, or whatever decision we had to make, just became really wearying. And now sometimes I just say, well, we're going to try it this way. And the reason we're going to try it this way is that you two are at loggerheads and somebody needs to make a decision. And I think people take great comfort in the idea that I'm making a decision just because it's my job to make the decision, not because I've got some God-given ability to see the right better than anyone else.
Build a software factory. Let's talk about that.
Well, the idea here is just that sooner or later you're going to create an enormous amount of technical debt as you build your product. I now meet lots of people who think of themselves as startup people or hackers, where they're obsessed with architecture. If it's not built in Scala, if we're not doing it this way, then you can't build the product. When in fact, if you are always about to run out of money, you just incur a massive amount of technical debt. You just lurch from one idea to the next until you get to product market fit. But sooner or later, as you get that fit, you want to invest in your software factory. Bill Gates argued that Microsoft won in the 80s and 90s because it had the best software factory. It spent 1/3 of its engineering resources on engineering itself, on making it easier for Microsoft to build software. And so I just think every company that reaches a scale point, when you have that inflection moment and you realize you've got a real product, the more resources you can invest in your platform so that it's easier for coders to check in their product, to test their product, to release their product, the better. This is our Chief Technology Officer. And now I would just say that 20% of Redfin engineering is really focused on making it easier for other Redfin engineers to check in code. There's still a lot of resources in the cloud, but eventually you're just going to have to pay down your technical debt and make all your other engineers more productive. It's the best investment you can possibly make.
Okay.
Jeff Bezos is sort of famous for talking about this. I met him once, and I just told him that sometimes I felt that consistency was the hobgoblin of small minds. You're going to feel this pressure as the CEO to be oracular, to be right all the time. And someone will say, well, wait a minute, 3 months ago you were against this, why are you for it now? And you shouldn't let that person trap you in a mistake. You should be explicit about, I've actually changed my mind. And sometimes you don't even need new data. You don't need some new phenomena outside of you. You can just say, I finally got a good night's sleep, and I realized that this was a mistake. And the more you can own that mistake, the more you can liberate everybody else on your team. So almost all of these early slides are really about the fact that you're going to be groping around in the darkness. And you want to make it okay to make mistakes so that other people can do that too. I think it'll release a lot of stress in the organization. So I just say, oops, I screwed up, and then other people will too. This is a little bit more personal, but it's along the same theme. This is my wife, and that's our son. He's going to his first day of kindergarten, and he looks as worried as he is. But my own challenge as an entrepreneur is, I go up and down. I get really blue about the product. There was a while where I just didn't think we were going to make it, and I felt like I wasn't getting any better. That I'd come home at night, I'd put the kids to bed, I would lie face down on the bed as soon as they were asleep and just say, I'm so tired of myself. The things that I'm working on never get any better. And I just feel like I'm such an asshole at work. And then my wife would say, well, do you think you're going to be better 10 years from now? And I say, honestly, I really don't think I am. And she would say, well, what were you like 10 years ago? Were you worse back then? And that I was very eager to agree with. I was a total asshole back then. And so she said, you've somehow gotten better over the last 10 years, but you think that process has now stopped. And I guess there's this idea that as an entrepreneur, a founder, a CEO, you want to present yourself as perfect, but if instead you can present yourself as a work in progress, it really helps. The happiest people in the world are born again, not necessarily born again Christian, they could be born again Jewish or Muslim or what have you. But just this idea that I'm not invested in who I was, I'm invested in who I'm going to be is a good way to run yourself, and it's a good way to run a company.
Hey everybody, I want to tell you about the second year of us partnering with IBM for something called Smart Camp. We had a great partnership last year, and now we're on to smartcamp2016.com. It's a startup competition. It occurs in 20 cities from around the world, and you can find your city on the website, smartcamp2016.com, smartcamp2016.com, or you can find the city closest to you, one you can get to, and you can apply. Applications are closing in a few weeks, so I need you to apply today. And if you win, you're going to get to pitch on stage at the Launch Festival or the Scale Conference, and you're going to get mentored by local IBM city leaders, and you can compete for a chance to be a finalist. So you're going to pitch on stage in your city, become a finalist, you're going to crush it, and then you're going to come to the Scale Conference or the Launch Conference. It's going to be great. The top 10 finalists get to come to the Launch Festival in the spring of 2017 here in San Francisco. They get to meet with me. You have lunch with me. It's great fun. And the top 3 finalists are going to present on stage at the Launch Festival in front of thousands of people. The winner will get $25,000 from me and come to my exclusive incubator, the Launch Incubator. Last year, Carforce went to the incubator and received an investment from me. Actually doubled my investment in the company, went from 25 to 50. And you will become the IBM Global Entrepreneur of the Year, a title you want to have in your pitch deck when you go meet with investors. So go ahead and visit smartcamp2016.com and start your journey. It's going to be an amazing conference, an amazing competition, and you're going to learn a lot, and you might wind up getting an investment from me, Jason Calacanis. Okay, let's get back to this amazing program.